5, a bit of banter. We were just having a bit of trouble there getting set up. And today, again, we're just joined by Michael and Frankie. Um, Unfortunately, we're some of the other people we would normally have in can't make it today. Um, and we just thought we'd do a special episode based on Civil War, specifically Civil War, because as most of us have seen it, I'm hopeful that anybody that's watching right now has seen it because this is going to be a full spoilers review of it. We didn't want to just come in and say we thought it was good, we thought it was bad. We wanted people to have an opportunity to air their views on it and talk about any specific stuff within the film. So we thought we'd dedicate this one to that.
Yep.
Um, but before we get started, there's it's basically just to make certain we're not skipping out on stuff as well. I want to just kind of catch up and just do like maybe for 5 minutes, just do a quick refresh on some of the stuff that's been on TV recently. You guys may have realized that a few of the shows have just ended recently. Limitless, Better Call Saul, those kind of things.
Yep. Better Call Saul. I follow that. I don't follow Limitless, but I do follow Saul, and yeah, it wrapped up.
Yeah, you've seen all of that. You finished watching that one.
Well,
Frankie, what about you? Have you spotted the Limitless one?
yeah, I've watched Limitless. I still haven't seen anything of Better Call Saul, so you can talk whatever you want about Better Call Saul as well. So, um, there's no problem with that at all. Like,
Well, yeah, it's not really going to be a case of spoilers for that as such. Spoilers are purely going to be for Civil War.
Yeah.
But yeah, just what did you think of the series itself? Series 2 on Better Call Saul, Michael?
I thought the second season was better than the first. I thoroughly enjoyed what they did with the characters. I liked the way that they fleshed the supporting characters even more than Jimmy slash Saul. I didn't love the last episode because I think the thing with Better Call Saul is, as much as we love it, we always wanted to move faster and faster. We wanted to get to a place that we recognize from Breaking Bad, and they're quite resistant to do that. I thought episode 9 was fantastic, and it set up the cliffhanger at the end of episode 9, again in season 2, I thought was surely going to lead to some big changes,
Yeah.
and it didn't.
Yeah.
So it didn't. So I would rate the 10th episode as maybe the weakest of the season, or one of the two weakest. But by and large, as the season was, and episode 9 was magnificent, but there was several episodes in that second season that were A, magnificent, and B, way better than anything season 1 did.
Oh yeah.
What do you think?
Definitely. Season 2 was fantastic. I mean, obviously season 1 was really just an introduction to the character and giving us his type of motivations. And just get a general idea about the type of character that he is. But season 2 is clearly just shown the history of the character enough to tell you then why he's ended up that way. And I think there might have been a few episodes people may have kind of skipped over some of the meaning on a few of the episodes. We've had some flashbacks, basically contrasting and contradicting the stories of some of the characters that have been in there. And it's really up to people to watch it to see, but it's very interesting, the brother character that we've seen so far, Chuck, and
Yep.
seeing exactly what his motivations are as well and his personality type. But there's one thing I would just mention about the last episode. You're saying that you didn't think it was that great. I do understand where you're coming from because obviously it has been 2 series now. We haven't seen a lot happening. There's been a lot of depth gone into his character and the people around him, immediately around him. But at the same time, I think it could suddenly sprint forward very quickly because I think there may have been an introduction of a character possibly in that last episode that could have bigger roles to play a little later on, especially from the Breaking Bad universe.
Okay.
If you just think of the Hector Salamanca, his whole backstory, and knowing that he's been introduced in season 2 now, but if you think of everybody that has potentially been involved with him and their motivations, it could give you a little bit of a clue as to what happened in the last episode.
Yeah, I know the things you're on about. Yeah.
Yeah, so you could probably guess who I'm talking about as well.
I think so. Yeah, and I think you're right. That should open things up considerably in season 3. I think my problem with episode 10 was that episode 9 had such a dramatic cliffhanger.
It did,
and
yeah.
it did lead me anyway, and a couple of people I've spoken to, assume that there was changes coming to the status quo in episode 10. It looked like there's going to be a fundamental change in who was involved with the show, maybe a character written out or something like that. It looked like, and that didn't at all happen in episode 10, and I suppose that was kind of, it was almost like I felt cheated from what had been implied before, so that may have got in the way of enjoying other elements. But I enjoyed we'll say the Mike story, I enjoyed other things, so definitely one of the best shows on TV. I mean, there's no doubt about that. It's a very satisfying show. I mean, if episode 9 had been the season finale, I'd be raving about it. I would just be raving about what a great season it was. It's just funny, isn't it? Just that one extra episode. But episode 9 was just, because that was a week waiting for that cliffhanger to be resolved. Was so
Yeah, I mean, as I've mentioned to you guys before, obviously I haven't been too well recently, so I didn't even get to see that episode whenever it came out. I had to wait about a week before I got an opportunity to sit down and watch it. And yeah, it kind of felt like a bit of a letdown to me. Not so much that, we had such a big cliffhanger and then it seemed to kind of drizzle out a little bit. It was really more a case of, it was a little bit too predictable in a way. Breaking Bad, the writers of Breaking Bad have been fantastic for foreshadowing events, as you've seen from early episodes of the first series, Breaking Bad, especially with the bear, and even just the imagery of the bear itself, to show you what's going to happen 2 or 3 series ahead. But I think they kind of they telegraphed this one a bit too much in the final episode. When you're watching Chuck and what he's getting up to.
Yeah, it was easy enough. And I wouldn't. I mean, the person I was watching it, both of us, during that last episode, we both called it, what was happening and where it was going.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily a bad. I mean, sometimes in a story, whether it's TV or a movie, sometimes knowing adds to the enjoyment. So
yeah,
I think that was a good story. I don't know if they would, if they should have hung the cliffhanger on what they did. But I still thought it was a very valid story because there was great satisfaction in seeing what was happening, knowing where it was going, and seeing it play out as we suspected. But then I wondered if that should have been the cliffhanger. If you're going to do that and you're foreshadowing it, and brilliantly done, then maybe do something unexpected or just, I don't know. I'm not sure what would have been better, but I just wasn't totally. I mean, I didn't hate it. I mean, I just, as I say, it's like the old thing I always say about 24. It's only when you start comparing it to itself that there's a problem. So Better Call Saul is so good. It's when you compare 10 to the mid 8 episodes of the season, that's when you have problems. But as an hour of TV, that was a pretty strong hour of TV, that last episode,
Definitely. I love the way that they're keeping it to 10 episodes as well, because it's very concise. I mean, they're fitting so much in. It feels like, I don't know, to put an analogy on it, it kind of feels like eating the greatest jumbo sandwich of your life. You're just getting taste in every part of it, every few seconds of it. And
it's the way to do it. It's these short 10, 12, 13 is the way to do it. Earlier today, this morning, I was reading Entertainment Weekly, and there was an interview. I'm a big fan of The Good Wife, and that's one of the quality shows on TV. But they do 22, 23 episodes a season. And the interview in Entertainment Weekly was with the producers, writers, the creators. And there's a little snippet in that where they say, and they've successfully done this for 7 years and brought their show to an ending as intended, but they say that, 22, 23 is just murder. It's not the way to do it. Yeah. Just not the way to do it. And yeah, you look at Saul, Saul, it couldn't sustain 22, maybe even 13 would be pushing it, but you could do it. But but definitely 10 is a good number. It just gets in and out. But I just wish they'd move this main thrust of the story forward a bit.
Yeah, I heard that the finale was good, but it just shouldn't have been the episode used for the finale. That's
Yeah.
what I heard.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree with that.
you know, it's just going from what they said. It's just like the whole series was great up until that point. It was kind of like, what the hell? It's like, why didn't you use maybe an episode behind for the finale? Because as you guys says, it doesn't set anything up. But
No.
I haven't seen it, so I'm looking forward to sitting down and actually watching the full series at some point.
Just to point out, Sinester's in chat at the minute. They just followed. Thanks again for that. Really appreciate it. Just to let you know, Sinester, what this is basically just it's an open conversation for everybody. We're not just broadcasting for the sake of telling you that this is what it is. Feel free to jump in, chat, give us your opinions, give us your views. Tell us what you think of the subject that we're talking about. And today is mostly, well, the majority of it's going to be Civil War. We're going to get to that in a second. But Frankie, you said that you've been following Limitless.
Yes.
And that's just come to the end of, what was it, 21, 22 episode run?
I think it was 22, yeah. So it was, I really enjoyed that. It had a bit of a shaky start, but each episode kind of got better and better. I know you don't follow it yourself, Michael.
But it may pop up on my watch list. I'm interested in checking it out. So I'm interested in what you have to say, because it's like I may start watching it before the end of the year.
Yeah, there's actually a reference on it when you're actually watching it. There's two bodyguards on it called Mike and Ike. For the life of me, now you would hear this. For the life of me, the whole way through that, I'm going, where have I heard that before? Mike and Ike, Mike and Ike. What is that? I came back from America when I went over to see my son there for his birthday, and I came back with 4 boxes of Mike and Ike's.
Right.
And it only dawned on me when I was watching the last episode. Oh, aye, he's named them after these sweets.
Yeah.
I never put that correlation on there at all. But I really enjoyed the last episode. Where it showed you the effects of the drug and things like that. But my biggest gripe of the last episode would be that they found an antidote.
Okay,
Yeah.
that'll fundamentally change the makeup of the show moving forward.
Yeah, so it guarantees that he can continue working on with the FBI and things like that and all. But it kind of, for the whole last couple of episodes, where you kind of worried about, are they going to get an antidote? Is he going to be okay? He starts to get psychosis and things like that, and then all of a sudden, then at the end, it's like, well, it's going to be okay. There's going to be a season 2. Woohoo!
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of, it was a bit touch and go there for some of the episodes, where it looked like, they may have actually even just replaced the character.
Yeah.
You didn't know if he was going to be removed from it and possibly switch on to somebody else. Because I think they've kind of left, they may say that they've kind of tied up a couple of loose ends, but I think certain aspects of the show, certain parts of the storyline, like a few of the extra tablets going around and stuff, were a bit too unneatly tied up with sentences.
Yeah, because they tried a couple of episodes before, they put everything out on the street and anybody could get it.
Yeah.
And then within 2 episodes it was all wrapped up again then at that point. I suppose maybe they didn't know if they were going to get a renewal at that point.
Yeah. It sounds like that. As I say, I don't watch the show, but from what you're saying, it might be one of those things where when they're now going to season 2, what appears to have been tied with a bow, because I've seen shows do it before, they might unravel it in the season premiere again just a little bit, mightn't, because sometimes the onus is on shows that are not sure if they're coming back. The onus is on them to finish things up as best they can. I see it all the time.
It's very hopeful that they would do something like that, because as I say, there's a lot of potential, I think, that they've left behind in the characters that were kind of caught up in these storylines. And if you've had some side switching with some of the characters as well throughout the show, and if they did that with some more of the ones that have been involved this series, which, like I say, they didn't really tie them up too well, the end of the storylines, it could lead for a very interesting season 2. I don't know if you guys have watched Dexter.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Well, I think there could be the potential in series 2 of Limitless for a Dokes style matchup
Okay.
in some way. So
Okay.
Frankie will kind of get the idea that I'm talking about there. Hopefully he's getting that. But yeah, it's the potential where I think series 1 was really just what can we do with the show. I think from the writing of it, series 2 is going to be a lot of, let's actually take this somewhere.
Yeah,
One is season 1 largely the procedural aspect. I mean, I presume each episode is a case, and he solves the case with his partner. Is that kind of what season 1 is?
Yeah, on the most part, yeah. There is a bit of a background story leading on from the film. It is supposed to be a continuation of the film, but basically just a different protagonist.
Bradley Cooper appear on the show. I know that was a big
he
quote
does,
on
yeah.
Twitter. Yeah,
it does a few times, and at the end of season 2, it more or less tells you they're not finished with him at all. So he's going to be on season 2 by the looks of it, and hopefully they'll bring him on more than what he has been, because they're kind of gearing him up to be
The
a big character, the big baddie.
Yeah.
So he's going to have to be on it for nearly a full season at some point. Even I'd be happy if this got at least 3 seasons. Because they could spend all of season 2 setting everything up for him, and then season 3 can be more like the Blacklist, if anyone watches that. Which is, it's Blacklist is very, very good. This last season is okay, but season 1 and season 2 is fantastic of it. But I'm really enjoying Limitless, and I really hope that season 2 gets a lot better.
I have been hoping to get to watch that at some point. I just haven't quite gotten around to it, so I'll.
Blacklist, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Blacklist. Yeah, if anyone has Sky, the box sets are on the on-demand service.
So
I saw the pilot when it came out, and I really disliked it. So I was like, damn, I didn't like Jen Spader. I didn't like the girl. I didn't like anything about it. Although they're on now about spinning off. Is it Famke Janssen?
Right.
From the Blacklist, aren't they? Yeah. Did I read that somewhere that because the Blacklist has been a big hit for NBC. As far as I'm just double checking. Yes, exactly. This is something. See, because I like her, I would give that a. Yeah, the Blacklist getting a possible spin-off, and yeah, Famke Janssen would be the lead, and it would be kind of the same idea where she would be a master criminal. Now that I would check because of her. I would want to see what that's about.
There you go, but a Banter exclusive all the way from Michael.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm quite a fan actually of Famke Janssen himself. So yeah, I think I'd probably watch that. It wasn't even GoldenEye that really did it for me. It was Rounders.
Rounders. I thought you were going to say Nuptuck there.
No, I never watched that show.
Yeah, she was on.
It was right from the first time I saw her was Star Trek Next Generation, where she was in the Perfect Mate episode, which was basically really a two-hander between her and Patrick Stewart. Yes. It was brilliant. And after that, then I was always watching out to see what she was doing. She has a show at the moment as well, doesn't she? But I haven't checked it out now. I read bad reviews of it, that's why.
Yeah.
What is she doing? She's doing some fantasy thing. Again, IMDb to the rescue. Hemlock Grove. Yeah, she's on Hemlock Grove.
Right, okay. That's a show that I thought about checking out, but I forgot all about it.
Well, there's been 3 seasons, and she's in all of them. She's in 33 episodes, according to IMDb. So, yeah, but I read mixed reviews of it, so I kind of stayed away from it for that reason alone. I don't know much about it beyond the fact that. There we go.
Yeah, the first season's supposed to be very good, but the second season hasn't got great reviews at all. So it's one of those shows I might just miss altogether.
I've not heard anything about it, unfortunately. This is kind of news to me at this point.
There's something else there that we were talking about from McDonaldson there about a spin-off show, and something came into my head there, but it's gone now. It'll probably come back later again. It was about a spin-off of a show, which for the life of me, I just can't remember now. So I can't. But shall we dig into Civil War then?
Yes, sounds good, because I think a few people will probably want to be getting their teeth into this one. So I just gotta ask, have you guys seen Civil War, or
Twice.
Twice?
Right,
Frankie?
before we actually get on to anything, right? On this, I really like this film, but since I've been watching it, and I was talking to Tom about this earlier, was that it's not just my friends and work that have said this, but a lot of people don't seem to be liking it. But those people are comparing it to Batman versus Superman, who thought that was a better show, which to me, I'm kind of like, what the hell? What planet are we living on?
Wow.
You know, so I was yesterday in work, I was called an audience man.
A what?
An audience man. Whereas I was told I didn't have my own opinion about a film, and I just liked it because the audience liked it. I still don't understand what he means by that, or how he came up with that, or anything that, that would mean I would have to sit the whole way through the film and laugh at the same points and then decide, oh, I like this because everybody else did. So which means I would have been expecting everyone's reaction, but I don't know.
Yeah,
But
so he thinks you're a sheep then?
Yeah, something like that, and I'm kind of like, but you like Batman versus Superman? What the hell?
Yeah.
One of my friends, sorry, friend, he's an acquaintance from work, another guy, Ryan. He mentioned that they thought it was a bit goofy and stuff like that, and and I was only thinking about this today, and I'm going, well, of course it was a bit, because what we have to remember is that it's a Disney film. It is for geared kind of towards kids a wee bit. I don't feel it was, but maybe we have to kind of look at it that way as well.
I don't even really think that was an aspect of it, though. I
Yeah.
do realize that certain parts of it were, I suppose,
I'm trying to
as you
I'm
say,
just trying to
goofy.
follow.
A dark take on. I mean, there's a lot of dialogue about death and consequences and not being able to see everybody. That's quite, I think darker than anything Marvel has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what was the rating again for this film?
It was 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, wasn't it?
Sorry. I mean, was it like PG or 15?
Yeah, I think it was no, it wasn't it definitely wasn't a 15.
PG-13.
PG-13, and I think PG-13 was probably, if not for all the rest of the film, for specifically one moment in the film where Crossbones basically suicided, blew himself up.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so you see a guy encased in a psychic bubble that's burning alive and screaming his head off.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking PG-13's probably, I don't know, like, Frankie, does that seem a little goofball to you?
Yeah, but there was no blood. That's okay.
Fine. Well, yeah.
You know. But I think one of the biggest gripe, the guy that called me the obvious man, his biggest gripe was nobody died. That was his biggest gripe on it, and somebody else says, that it was very petty about them, and they were friends, and then they were bickering over stuff, and we'll get that later because there's a point on it that I want to make anyway. But I still can't fathom why they didn't enjoy it as much as I did. Batman vs Superman to me was the biggest disappointment of a film in such a long time. That I really, maybe I was just got that disappointment out of the way and really allowed myself to enjoy Civil War. Could have been better. I think it could have been a tad shorter, but it was a solid film. I think in my head it's probably in the top 3 Marvel films.
Yeah, Sinistra saying in chat there. Sorry if I'm getting gender specific roles here wrong. I don't know if you're he or she at this point, but you're saying that a lot of people were talking about how Kitty it felt coming out, but you thought it was dark, and I'm going to agree with. I'm actually going to agree with both sides of that. I thought the film was quite dark, but I don't. I don't think you can deny that there is a certain light-hearted approach to the film, and a lot of the characters and a lot of the aspects, especially in the Spider-Man character, he was very light-hearted, and with Ant-Man, and for good reason, because if you have a film that's just constantly dark and tense the whole way through, you don't necessarily enjoy it as much for a bit of a laugh. You know, you can't turn it into a comedy. Was there a point in Batman versus Superman that you thought you were sitting laughing to yourself, apart from laughing at some of the massive plot holes?
Yeah, I love the part in Batman versus Superman when they became stepbrothers, and because their mother was named Martha, and they
I have
became best
bad.
friends.
So, see, that to me is goofy and silly because
Yeah,
that moment, which is the pivotal moment in the movie, it's kind of that's what stops everything. You couldn't have that in Civil War. You
yeah,
couldn't have a moment like that where, because it's such a trivial, silly, pointless. And there's a great cartoon doing the rounds on Twitter. I saw it, I think, Friday, where it's Batman, Wonder Woman, and I think Aquaman going up against Darkseid. I can never, I don't know how
yeah.
to pronounce it. Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's just a thing where they've said, right, we've shut down your is it boob tubes or something? Again, I'm not a writer of the comics, so I don't know.
boom
And
tunes.
then he's the villain is all like, what? But how will I ever get back to see my mother, Martha? And then
Yeah,
Batman
I was seeing that.
tears
Yeah.
up. He tears up, and then Wonder Woman is behind him going, "Oh, this again."
Yeah. Well, I've heard both sides of the story in this. I did think it was ridiculous when I first saw it. I can kind of understand it a little bit because the whole thing with Batman is he's a character that's got a broken psyche. He's mentally and emotionally unstable as a person, as a character. He's been crime fighting in a suit for what 20 years now or something like that. And his whole motivation has continued to be his motivation throughout his entire career is the fact that it's to do with his parents. And okay, there was something at the start of the film Batman versus Superman that kind of threw me off a little bit. And it did explain itself that it was just a dream and that, about a quarter of the entire film is Batman's nightmares. But it was the bit where he fell down and the bats encircled him and he just started floating up and I thought, God, is this film really just gonna be so ridiculous that we have to believe everything we're just seeing on the screen?
Mhm.
And thankfully he turned around then and said, oh, it's a dream, but kind of continued on with that still with that same vibe that there were a lot of things that we just couldn't believe about it. But that was in a way I could kind of understand that if this was it's a trigger word and it's possible that Martha as a mother figure in a very heated emotional situation could be a trigger that could actually cause him to react in a certain way and it could throw him off balance. So I can understand that a little bit, but the whole bonding thing was a bit much. I mean, stumble a little bit, fair enough, I get you, if you want to hesitate, but suddenly become best friends, no, definitely not.
No,
And
doesn't
I,
Yeah, it
work.
was too soon.
It doesn't work. Yeah.
and I don't think anybody can really justify it. I've heard a lot of people trying to justify it in different ways, and things like there were certain other plot holes, like um, everything that was going on in terms of the fight between Batman and Superman was supposed to be happening on either an island or just a different body of land at the other side of the water, away from where Doomsday was being created. But then
Mhm.
suddenly, whenever Lois Lane is running back and she sees a flash in the sky, she realizes, shit, this must mean that Lex Luthor has actually gone off and created this super alien hybrid between humans and Kryptonians. And, the only thing that's going to stop him will be this Kryptonian staff, because I know what, kryptonite is at this point. So I best run back and get this staff because it's going to be needed soon. And it's like, where the hell did that come from? Way too many massive holes in the film.
Yeah, it's like the whole film for me was like, where the hell did this come from?
Exactly. It just felt like it.
Yeah,
Plus, even the Perry White attitude towards Clark Kent and Batman, it felt like everything in the film was forced purely to try and kind of push something into a fight or, push one-liners. Nobody's interested in Clark Kent versus the Batman.
yeah.
It's everything. The whole writing of it was just really forced. But I
Very.
will actually contradict myself in what I was saying for a long time. I kind of liked Ben Affleck as Batman.
Yeah, I thought he was great.
Mm.
I thought he was very good.
Except for the
Very
smirk.
good.
Obviously, except for the smirk. But I think physically
Don't think
he.
everybody's getting you with a smirk, Tom, and you need to give that one up.
No, hey, look, that's my pet peeve. If nobody else gets it, that's fair enough. Um, not a big Kevin Smith fan. Then obviously anybody that hasn't spotted that before, but I think physically he was Batman, and he's the first character to look like Batman. I think
Well,
Michael Keaton had the nuts down. Um, I think possibly what's his name? He did Batman Begins.
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale had the early character down, and I think Ben Affleck definitely had the seasoned Batman attitude down. He seemed to be like a well-rounded character in that, but still we haven't got a perfect Batman. I think he does embody some aspects of it, so that was good.
I don't think we're going to get a perfect Batman. So we're not. But I think we can all agree that the whole film was just forced. I just read that one of the writers behind it was the guy who did Argo, and I really enjoyed Argo, Chris Terrio. I think the whole film just wasn't fleshed out properly. That's my biggest gripe of the whole thing is just it wasn't fleshed out. If I had a chance to breathe, it would have been a really good show.
Yeah, I'm just reading Sinister's chat as well about
Yeah,
Aquaman potentially showing up and handing the spear. I didn't think that's actually a pretty decent idea.
yeah, I was just reading that as well, Tom. I was reading it there just when you were chatting, Frankie, and I was like, yeah, and
Mm.
I was just going over it in my head. Yeah, that would have worked probably better. It would have been a nicer way to get Aquaman into the story rather than that whole kind of like that photo gallery of like, here's one of the characters, and
Yes.
here's another one of them.
Yes.
It's like it was not organic. It was very forced as well. To
Yeah.
echo what you just said.
Mm.
So yes, an idea like actually bringing some of the Justice League into this story
Yeah.
in a way like that would have been much better. Of course, I wouldn't have thought of that either. But yeah, of
Well,
course.
well, they did seem to bring some of the Justice League in. It was just, it was a little bit confusing. Flashback mixed with a dream, which was hard to tell
Oh,
if the character was actually the Flash or Cyborg that was trying to reach him.
I didn't like that at all. I was like, I got fed up. You mentioned the dream sequences. I really got fed up of
Oh
those.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Really got fed up of those. They were a strange storytelling choice for this movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Like
it was a good setup for Darkseid, but I think
Yeah.
some of the stuff looking at it was fantastic when you think of it in terms of the Darkseid futuristic Superman soldiers was brilliant in terms of reflecting red sun.
Visuals were amazing and ideas and whatever, yeah, but I just didn't I just didn't feel it at all, I just
Yeah.
didn't. You could take out the Batman scenes and have a better movie, but any of the Superman stuff as well just bugged me because he was just moping and not doing anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Emo
Really.
Superman.
Whereas the thing about Captain America Civil War, Captain America, it's particularly on second viewing, I could see what he sets out to do each time. He sets out to do this, he achieves it. He sets out to do this, he achieves it. Sets out to do this, doesn't quite achieve it, but then sets out to do the last thing. It's very much you can see what the character is attempting each and every time, and when he succeeds, and it's in the text, and it's very
Yeah.
satisfying to watch something like that where you. And he is the Cap is the Boy Scout character, and it works in Civil War for me anyway. That Superman should be, and just that Zack Snyder has no interest in exploring.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Snyder doesn't get the character at all. I mean, one of the biggest things people complained a lot for years that Superman was too much of a Boy Scout. But I think one of the issues, or one of the main things about Superman is that he knows effectively what is right and wrong. Supposedly in a slightly better moral compass than most people, but he realizes that there are limitations and there are lines that he can't cross, even though he really wants to. And there's a difference between understanding all of this and realizing your limits, as opposed to the way that Schneider approached this character, which is, I have loads of superpowers, I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. Somebody please help me and show me the way.
Yeah.
Which you could kind of
Very.
understand from the 70s version of it, when he was first introduced, but at the same time, catch yourself on at this point, mate. You know,
Well,
There's a beauty. I'm not a DC reader. I don't read the Superman comics. I've read a handful of them. I have, but I've watched whatever 100 episodes of the Superboy TV show, which was Superman in all but name. 87 episodes of Lois and Clark. All the episodes of the animated show. I was at 55 or 53 or something. And the movies, the original Christopher Reeve movies. And there's a straight through line there of Superman as that Boy Scout, and also that outsider. And rather than being a negative, there's great power in having a character who is basically Spock or Data or the Doctor on Voyager, the outsider, and you can use that as a great storytelling tool.
Yeah.
And that's who Superman is. And it's frustrating that Snyder doesn't want to explore that at all with his movies. It's a different take on Superman, and from what I can gather, talking to friends and reading reviews, nobody is interested in this take except Snyder, who is obsessed with it.
Yeah. It's almost like Snyder's trying to make the character too human, but he's not.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole good thing about the character is that he's not human. He's basically, as you say, he's the outsider. He's the person that shows us what we are of ourselves. And as it was always, I can't remember who said it, but somebody mentioned, it was either in a film or it was somebody reviewing, that said their favorite version of Superman was the 1970s version that Christopher Reeves had, because he thought it was a great critique on the human race, where he didn't pretend to be Superman, he pretended to be Clark Kent. And Clark Kent was the embodiment and the reflection of everything that he saw us as humans. And he saw us as clumsy, basic, very very limited understanding, and it just shows you that this is how he sees us from the outside, and he's basically looking at us like little children and trying to help us, bring ourselves forward, while at the same time realizing, I have to intervene in some places, but I can't push you further than you're supposed to go. And again, as I hark back to it, Red Sun was a perfect storyline in that respect, where you got to saw what would happen if Superman actually put himself in some power.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. On a side note about that, I'm still thinking about your man Chris Terino, who wrote Batman vs Superman, and I've just noticed that he's only written 4 films, including Batman vs Superman. I know this means probably nothing to resties, but I just realised, why the hell did they pick somebody like that?
They're probably looking at a lot of writers that are coming out recently. I can't remember his name, but the guy who wrote and directed Chronicle. That was
Max Landis.
Yeah, that went down quite well for a lot of people. But he didn't really follow it up quite well. But it's the fact that, if you get fresh blood out there, if you get fresh perspective, a lot of times it can be a game changer. I think they probably took a chance on him, and it just didn't really work. But at the same time, you got to look at him and realize it's not just the person who's writing it. Snyder should have been able to step in a lot of cases and go, look, this is just ridiculous. I can't direct this in a way that actually makes sense. You have to change these aspects of the story. And after the film, to realize that he just kind of walked away and went, you know what? I did what I did. If you don't like it, well, I couldn't do any better. And it's not trying to defend himself in any way. He's just basically said, well, yeah, you kind of got me. And I'm expecting possibly in a couple of years' time, after he's had maybe 1 or 2 more successes, he'll turn around and go, well, you know what? I would just like to apologize for that film. But he can't do it right now, because if he shows any kind of weakness now, he's not going to get another project in Hollywood. It's just going to be, oh shit, this guy's a hot potato. Let's get rid of him.
I'm surprised the fact that the Warner Brothers has announced they're going to do less films because of Batman vs Superman, that they've handed part 1 and 2 of Justice League straight to him as well. I realised that part 1 was probably part of the contract. Apparently they wouldn't do it until they changed that they Dawn of Justice, because Warner Brothers wanted to shoehorn in the Justice League no matter what into this film, and they wanted to shoehorn in the death of Superman. Now, the death of Superman should have been its own film, and should have been maybe a sequel down the line and done properly with Doomsday, because it shows you there that Doomsday was done half decently in the film. I thought it was going to be absolutely terrible, but it was half decent. It was overkill on the special effects, but they could have made it so much better. They're trying to just match Marvel, too fast. Just flesh it out and give us something decent. I think that they're expecting a bubble to burst.
And they want to get in there and in front of it.
Yeah, I've been saying this for last year. I think the whole superhero bubble might be coming to burst in the next 2 years, maybe.
I don't necessarily know about that.
I think Marvel do a great job of their movies come from different genres. Like Ant-Man was a heist movie, and Guardians of the Galaxy was like a fantasy kind of Star Warsian type movie. I wonder. I mean, I don't know. I think Marvel have got longevity for more than 4 or 5 years. I think I think Kevin Feige is very canny, I think, in what he's doing. I think it's hard to.
Sorry, go on. Sorry.
I was just it's hard to get tired of their brand, because they do reinvent it quite a lot. Yep. Like the Captain America movies are very like the second and third one are kind of political thrillers more than anything else. They're they're taking tropes from that kind of movie, and then, as I say, Ant-Man was different and Guardians was different, and Doctor Strange is going to be something else again, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, really looking forward to that. No, I agree with that. I mean, I think Captain America is kind of something that's needed right now, where it's not one of these things that plays into it's us versus the government, but at the same time it's saying that you do have to be informed, you do have to make your own decisions, and you have to know what's going on around you before you can actually start just mouthing off and criticizing people who are doing this or doing that. From what Frankie was
in the movie about that, just fabulous dialogue about organizations having agendas and agendas changing, and
yes,
really smart dialogue in the Captain America movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry to say it's going to be going over the heads of a few people, I think, because it won't sink in. But I wish that message could get out there that it's actually been Captain America. A lot of people say Captain America, the first film, wasn't great. They didn't like that it had been set in the 40s, and I think it was necessary. I think the Captain. I've never liked Captain America. Thought he was a very basic character, right? I thought he's just the Marvel version of Superman as a Boy Scout. But seeing the character progression from the first film, and seeing him through different generations, and seeing him through different timelines, and you're realizing that yes, governments have changed. As you say, agendas have changed. The world has changed. And this is the only guy that hasn't actually changed from 1940, or even 1920 when you show him earlier, through to 2016. He's basically is just this moral compass that guides everybody around him. And he's cutting straight through the bullshit and saying exactly what people need to hear. And just realizing that, yes, you saw him come in from the 40s a little bit naive, and Tony changed that. So you gotta hand it to Tony for that aspect. Realizing that you can't just take authority as the be all and end all for it, and the fact that Samuel L. Jackson's character, what was his name? Nick Fury. That he basically showed Captain America as well that yes, there is going to be a lot of kind of cogs going in the background, and you can never really trust anybody. But at the same time, just because there's a lot of that manipulation going on in the background doesn't mean that people can't be trusted. And to understand that a lot of people can look like they're of one agenda, and they got a certain kind of attitude or personality, but it's not really what they are. They can be good guys. It's perfect for Captain America has become my new favorite character in the Marvel universe.
I still like Iron Man.
I was the same as you. I was never a collector of Captain America. I mean, I probably have, until I got the Essentials, which I have now, but I had maybe 3 or 4 issues ever of Captain America. I knew him through the Avengers but I never collected him or any great interest in him because anything I read in his solo stuff never grabbed me.
Yeah.
I've read some of the 70s stuff. Steve Englehart's run in particular is excellent, which was basically Watergate done in through the Secret Empire or whatever. But yeah, the movie version and what they've done and how they've realized and has made me love the character. I mean, I was really invested in this movie and really proud of Steve for taking his stand and for putting his case the way he put his case, and I thought it was really intelligently scripted
Well, that's why I obviously jumped on that Team Cap bandwagon a while back, changing everything to that. Because whenever I read the Civil War comic, I thought, okay, he's basically just letting his ego run away with him, which seems to be the way it's going, has been going for quite some time now in the Marvel comic universe. But I think it was written so well that I kind of got where he was coming from as well in this film.
Well, Tony,
you couldn't say yes, you're 100% wrong. You had to say, okay, well, we can see where you're coming from. You actually have some damn good points here, but it's going to be a tough one. We're going to have to still say, let's go with Cap. And the way it ended up in the comics, where Captain America eventually gave in because so many people died in the circumstances that happened in it, that he realized, it's for the better good to not fight rather than to fight for something that is worth fighting for, in a way. And thankfully we didn't end up having this, and we kind of did have a Batman Superman moment with the video of Tony's parents at the end of the film. His reaction and the way he kind of flew off the handle. But then it's not that far from the character either, because he always has been somebody who just has knee-jerk reactions to what he experiences.
Yeah, well, Tony is immature. I mean, that's one of the things we in the film is that that's part of his charm. So a knee-jerk reaction such as he had was, to me anyway, was perfectly in character. I could see why he would react that particular way. But the fact that, by and large, the case that Tony had was as strong as the case that Steve had, and again, spoiler alert. Of course, we're talking spoilers anyway. But that nothing was resolved, I thought was brilliant. I thought the fact that because the issues it can't be resolved. So the movie didn't attempt to trivialize the issues by resolving them, which I applauded. I thought that's. They were able to leave the movie because they have the luxury of potentially bringing these characters back and dealing with the split in a later movie. They have that luxury, so they were able to take the choice of not having to resolve these issues and let Steve go to ground and do his thing, and presumably a lot of the rest of the Avengers as well will join him in his secret location. Which isn't
very secret.
No, well, not
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to that as well. I didn't think I was going to be looking forward to a Black Panther film. I am really looking forward to it now.
Yeah, I think. Sorry.
No, he was magnificent in this movie.
He was fantastic. And again, I thought they were not going to be necessarily too true to the character, the way that he did kind of react pretty quickly to it, and it was just, I'm going to avenge my father, because T'Challa in the comic books is one of the Illuminati. He is one of the top 5 or 6 most intelligent people in the world, and to have him react in such a way seemed very basic, but to show that it was really just him seeing red and that he calmed himself down, especially to stop Baron Zemo from killing himself. So brilliant way to turn it around and show the character that he has so many different levels. The only thing is really, I think we need the Black Panther film in a way to kind of go back and see his origins and see where this has come from. And I'm not really a fan of origin movies, but it would be nice to see it. I don't know the character well enough to go into a lot of stuff with him, so I would be interested in seeing a backstory from that.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite things about the film was Black Panther. I never had an interest in him, and with this film, I'm quite intrigued. And
Nice.
I think that it definitely needs an origin. It definitely needs an origin story for him, and that's something I would be looking forward to seeing. Definitely on that. But with this film itself, I mean, I do have to see it again. But two things that I really liked about the film, two of the lightest moments of the film that I thought were Spider-Man and Ant-Man, and that was
Yeah.
that those two guys were the highlight of the film for me. Uh, because you just weren't expecting that big moment with Ant-Man. Definitely
Exactly.
not. You just weren't expecting it. But Spidey, I think they got Spidey spot on.
Oh, it was
Yeah,
perfect. Yeah.
perfect
The,
Spider-Man.
And I
the
loved.
only
Sorry,
sorry,
go
go
on.
ahead.
No, go on,
I was
Frankie.
just gonna say that the only thing I didn't like about Spidey was the look. The guy that actually plays him. I
Oh,
That's the only thing I liked about Peter Garfield, that he looked like Peter Parker, but he just didn't do the part justice. Take that look. He's all to me. He's just going to have the perfect look always, and that's the only good thing about that part that he did.
Yeah.
Uh, Translate that to this, and you would have had the perfect Spider-Man.
Well, I think you're kind of mixing up the Spider-Man in terms of which different comic that they brought it from, because the Peter Garfield one was perfect in terms of the 1960s version of Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man. But when they revisited it with Spider-Man Unlimited, they went for an even younger character, and I think he was actually spot on perfect for that. And if they are
Okay.
going to keep pushing on the Spider-Man Unlimited series, the fact that we could end up with a Miles Morales at some point is very interesting to see where they're going to go with that. One
Yeah.
of the things I loved, I really did, was the fact of seeing Robert Downey Jr. and Marissa Tomei in another film again together, and just see the
Yeah.
chemistry between the two of them, because I think they're fantastic in
I like this
everything
Aunt
they've
May.
done before. Yeah, it was good to see her as a younger Aunt May as well, because then you realize that yes, that actually does translate to Peter being considerably younger. He's not going to be like 15, 16. He's probably going to be more in the region of about 12, 13 or something like that.
Yeah.
A
that
good
was
bit
a
young.
big shock though. We're not used to Aunt May being kind of like she's only 50 and she's really hot, and
Hot, yeah.
you're like Aunt May. We had a discussion about this afterwards. We were standing on the steps outside at like 3 a.m. and that was one of the talking points. Was like, we shouldn't be having these feelings for Aunt May. It's Aunt. It's
It's
got to
Aunt
be a
May, yeah.
dotty, grey-haired old lady. She's not meant to be this. So wow, okay. But I'm totally happy with the choice. Like, why not? Go
Yeah.
for it.
Oh, I gotta admit, I do have a crush on Marissa Tomei. I have had since I was a kid. So yeah, there's to have these feelings towards Aunt May right now. It's a very confusing experience.
Yeah, confusing.
Do you need to go to therapy now, Tom?
I do. I need to go back and speak to some people and say like I'm confused. I seem to have some age-related sexual issues going here. Um, but yeah, brilliant to see
Yeah,
her in this film.
Spider-Man, Ant-Man, they were both excellent. Agreed, absolutely. I mean, Ant-Man was funny and was a great big surprise, and
Yeah.
and Spider-Man was just really when he was in action, he looked and felt like. But I like the Peter side of it too.
Hmm. I think they had three great levels as well with the characters that were in here. You saw both of the teams and you saw who were on them. But then you had the um, main ideologies coming through from Tony and from Cap. And then you had the next level, which was basically everybody that's been caught up in this. So you would
Oh,
have had
yeah.
like the Vision, and you would have had uh, what was his name, Sam, and other characters like that. And then the third level is you got the little guy, which was Spider-Man and Ant-Man. No pun intended with the little guy, but yeah, it really did show them from all the different levels, and it was perfect rather than just we're all on the same level and we're going to ignore what everybody else thinks. Because when you looked at something like the Battle of New York, it was we are superheroes fighting superpowered creatures, and the people that are running around are just basically ants below us. Again, I'm not meaning this as a pun in any way, but when you see like Spider-Man and Ant-Man coming in, you realize that these are people who've just basically they've not brought themselves into this world. This world is being kind of flung on to them, and they're just reacting in whatever way they can, which is with excitement in a way, with a little bit of hesitation and horror in some aspects of it. But I gotta say this. You see the Ant-Man bit where he decided he was possibly going to tear himself in two, and he just grew in size. I literally, for about a minute and a half in the cinema, sat like this with my mouth just gaping wide open, looking at the screen going, fuck me, that's incredible. And it was perfect. You've seen that in films before, but I think this one it came out of nowhere. If you knew the character, you knew what he was capable of. But at the same time, to see this suddenly then happen in the film, and it didn't look ridiculous. It didn't look like a lot of giant films like Godzilla or something like that, which you definitely got to take tongue in cheek. And the fact that his reaction then was, "Oh my god, this is so cool," was kind of reflecting the audience reaction to it as well. It was almost like we were kind of feeding off each other for that. So that was brilliant. Does anybody got orange slices?
It worked for a variety of reasons. It worked because the way it was played, because we've already seen the Ant-Man movie, which was kind of a very small, kind of less cosmic-y big superhero movie.
Yes.
It worked on many levels, and you're right, it didn't look like Godzilla or any of those movies. Part of that, though, which I think was very clever, was confining it to the airport, using the airport props, using the planes, the trucks, the fire truck or the oil truck or whatever, using those things, rather than it being there was something about that I thought was clever. I was really paying attention to that on the second viewing, because I thought it was a really great choice, again, to do it in the airport, to do it in a deserted airport, and to let them play with all those toys.
Yes.
It just made it work.
I think that's the kind of thing where they could get that to work quite well with the Hulk as well. If they put him in the right situation, if they put him in the right place, they could make the Hulk look a lot better than he even does at this point. But yeah, it was perfect with that, man. The only thing that I would kind of question about that is if he goes from normal size to ant size, he retains the strength of a human. But if he goes from normal size to giant size, he doesn't retain the same strength. He grows stronger. Because effectively, if he did grow stronger and he maintained the same strength, one, he couldn't grab Rhodey, but secondly, he would have just collapsed. He would have actually torn himself apart. It was good that he did call that beforehand. I don't know what's going to happen here. I could tear myself in two. And when I did try this the first time, I fainted. Yeah. Yeah. So it was great to see the reaction to that. There was something that happened in the after credits. Now this is the dude of Spider-Man, and a lot of people I've heard a few people complaining about it. I know Frankie was one of the people who turned around and complained the second we got out of the cinema about this.
Okay.
What exactly did I complain about?
You were complaining about the second after credits scene with Spider-Man coming across the little signal in his wristwatch.
The bat signal.
Yes. And I don't know, how familiar are you guys with early Spider-Man?
60s?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be familiar with 60s. I would have read pretty much all the 70s stuff in the last few years, but 60s stuff I skipped.
Well, even possibly in the 70s. I don't know if it went that far into it, but do you not remember that whenever he first came out, he had a Spider-Man signal where he wouldn't shine it in the sky or anything like that?
Yeah, it would be shown on the floor.
It would be shown on the criminals itself.
Yeah, that was there. That's in the 70s as well. That's in the 70s comics.
Yeah.
Yeah, I realize where it's from and what it is, But with what I said, I'm sure everybody else would be thinking the same type of thing.
It's like a bat signal, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they didn't really set much up with Spider-Man and that scene itself. I was more interested in the first after credit scene.
Well, that was brilliant.
Bucky. Obviously anybody who knows anything about Captain America or Bucky knows where it's going from here. Simple as that, and which I thought was a good setup, and I'm quite looking forward to where they go from here. Even though I know that Bucky's going to take over the mantle at some point, but that means the Punisher has to come on there somewhere too.
Oh, but the Punisher's getting his own TV show.
True.
Yep.
And they've been doing crossovers from the TV shows back and forth, so I cannot wait to see this new Frank Castle coming into a feature film. I think he's going to be great. But there's one. Before we kind of jump on to something like that, though, I do have to point this out, Frankie. You said you didn't think there was much development in the Spider-Man character from that last scene.
Yeah,
I actually think you're wrong in that.
Right.
Because you have to think back to an earlier scene where Tony Stark first goes into his bedroom, looks at his computer setup, asks him what he does. Oh, I put old computers together and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I tinker with things, and he looks at it and goes, "You're a bit of a retrophile here. You like the old stuff. You need a serious upgrade." Now, if anybody looks at that after seeing credit again, or after credit scene again, and looks at the symbol, they'll notice that it's not just a standard Spider-Man symbol. It's not just a picture.
No, it's there. It's one of the early logos.
No, it's not just that. If you look around the outer edge, you'll notice
moving
aspects, flashing lights. Now, there's no aesthetic reason to have that, except the whole way through the film, Tony Stark has been using holographic computer interaction. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen the cartoon from the 80s, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Yeah.
And that, there was an unknown benefactor that came in and gave them this supercomputer that basically they did most of their detective work off. But to see Tony Stark handing Spider-Man a bit of tech that looks like it's an interactive holographic computer now has given Spider-Man a serious upgrade. And it's not just that they've advanced the character in any way, but they've shown that this is now what he holds. They've actually really pushed him forward with that, and I'm sorry to say a lot of people just kind of walked out going, "Oh, it's got a bat signal."
I think that's what I take from it too, and the fact that I think Downey is confirmed for the first Spider-Man movie, and the idea of and kind of he's not contracted to do very much else. Neither is Evans or any of them really. They're all kind of at the end of their contracts, coming up to the end of their contracts. But the idea of him in the Spider-Man movies, let's say there's a trilogy, let's say they're successful, with Tony Stark as his ongoing mentor, that's what I thought they were setting up there.
Yeah, that's what I got from it.
Yeah, that's cool. If that keeps Downey in the Marvel universe, in a limited capacity, but keep him there, keep him on screen at all. If it's only like 4 scenes in a Spider-Man movie every 2 years, that's fine.
You kind of need Downey there, though. You need to have a character that's that cocky just to balance off everybody else. Because a lot of the other Spider-Man films, you would have kind of looked at Spider-Man and went, did he go a bit too far there? But then if you stuck Robert Downey Jr. in the same film, you'd realize, no, it's tame as hell. It's Stark we have to watch out for. So yeah, it was definitely great seeing him in that film. And I don't know, again, if you're aware of a lot of the cartoons that have come out recently with Spider-Man. I think it was possibly called Ultimate Spider-Man, the Avengers cartoon, Hulk, and the something, whatever, Hulk and his friends or some shit like that.
Hulk and Smash.
The Agents of Smash, that's it, yeah. Niece and nephew, I've kind of been watching a lot of that stuff. But to see where they went with Spider-Man and realize that Nick Fury brought him into the Avengers and gave him a team and did start to mentor him in that way, if they took Tony Stark and put him in that position and again introduced him in a certain way to the Avengers, I think it would fit in quite well. I think it'd be perfect because a newer generation now is seeing a different side to Spider-Man in terms of the cartoons. And I haven't really kept up with the comics to see where he's sitting here now, but I know there has been quite a bit of change, especially going through the Doc Ock storylines and in the Ultimate Universe, killing off Spider-Man and that. It'd be interesting to see where they are going to take this character in the future. But,
definitely.
But again, I can't wait to see Frank Castle. I really can't. I'm just so excited to see that. Have you guys watched all of Daredevil?
No.
Yeah, I've seen them all.
I haven't seen season 2 yet. I'm going to have to finish Jessica Jones first, so I'll finish Jessica Jones, about 5 episodes into that. So it'll be into the summer before I watch Daredevil. Hopefully get it done before Luke Cage.
Well, there's one thing I have to ask you guys, because I seem to have missed out on this myself. Going into the film, there were a couple of plot points that they seemed like they were supposed to be obvious to the audience. And I think a lot of this is possibly coming from Marvel Agents of Shield. And I have not watched that from series 2 onwards. I just couldn't stomach after the first series.
Yeah, you still haven't missed anything.
No, I don't want
that. Yeah.
I tried episodes of season 2, but 4 or 5 episodes to watch the season 2, but I just can't get up the enthusiasm to watch anymore. It just doesn't do it for me. What was the plot points?
Well, there's certain things like whatever. I don't know if I was just not getting this from this Age of Ultron or something like that, but whenever Crossbones, or whatever the character's name is, because I don't really know him that well, suddenly had a grudge against Captain America. Now, I know he fought him hand-to-hand combat in the second Captain America film, but he didn't know of anything else that had happened to him after that. So the whole drop in the building on his face thing.
But was that not... He did... Like, are you saying that character was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., was he?
Well, he was in the second Superman film. Or not Superman, Captain America film. Remember when they were on the boat and they were fighting hand-to-hand combat?
I think what Michael means there is that was he in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which he wasn't.
That's what I don't know, because I don't know where he suddenly went from...
No, that's a reference back to the Winter Soldier. I've just double-checked there. He was never in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. He wasn't. Yeah, there was no reference ever made to it. I stupidly still watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because of the Inhumans, hoping that they were going to do something with that, but it's kind of just fell flat in its face. And one episode they had last week tried to kind of steal a wee bit of thunder from Captain America, where what do you call a head character again?
Coulson.
Coulson, something was falling on him, and he brought out this holographic shield, and it was supposed to be this big, he's got a shield, Captain America, blah blah blah. That was only kind of half reference to the film, and that's the only reason why I watched it. And it was kind of like I just wasted my time watching this for that. So that I think that's why I continue to watch it, because it does try to link it to the films. So it does, but you don't need to watch it in any way, shape, or form, because it's absolutely terrible, and just don't put yourself through it. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't really stomach it anymore, unfortunately.
Well, once you watch the other shows like Daredevil and Jessica Jones, it's nothing compared to them.
Yeah, and it's picked up for season 4, isn't it? So it is coming back.
God no. Probably.
I can understand that there are fans out there, but part of the reason why I haven't watched it as well is because I'm aware that they're doing the Inhumans aspect of it, and I want to wait until the Inhumans get their own film.
That's been shelved.
That's shelved.
Has it been shelved? Right.
Yeah, it's not going to happen now. I didn't think it was going to. It's one of those properties where they hoped it could take off, but it's too foreign to people. It's not going to work. It's not going to happen at all.
Part of the problem as well is, and I had read this months ago, when there was the reshuffle at Marvel with regard to Kevin Feige and who he was answering to, the Inhumans movie was the only one on the slate that wasn't his baby. That was forced upon him. And then when they did the reshuffle where he was reporting direct to the top and didn't have to go through, what do you call him, Joe, the guy who does the TV side of things.
Yeah.
But basically, when that was months ago, and I read a couple of articles, and they said, now that he doesn't have to deal with that side of things anymore, the Inhumans is dead in the water. And then, was it about a week ago, they announced that it's dead in the water. It's not happening. It's been removed. But it makes drop it and make room for some of these other sequels, because and I think the plan was to have the Inhumans be the Marvel Studios X-Men. That's what was kind of the reason behind it. But I don't think Kevin Feige had no interest in that side of things. So it's now dead.
Well, the Inhumans for me wouldn't be like the X-Men or anything, but I know that you guys are saying it's dead in the water, but I think probably shelved is a better way to put it, because
thank you.
Potentially,
thank you very much.
with more Guardians of the Galaxy films, after they've got put out the second one and the third one, and they do introduce the larger Marvel universe as opposed to the larger Marvel Earth itself, it does open up the potential for the Inhumans, like Black Bolt and such, to come into this, as opposed to just the Inhumans that we've already seen in Agents of Shield. And I would love to see a film about them, because I think if it's done right, it's potentially as good as Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh yeah, I mean the potential is there now. I mean, from what I understand of the Inhumans, I read the '70s run, and all of the '70s Inhumans comics are dreadful. But I understand that they were just awful. They're just not good. It's like they're just horrible. And the idea of Black Bolt, just this character who's their leader, who can't speak, who hasn't mastered the art of just getting a pencil and paper and telling he does that enigmatic thing of vanishing, and they all follow him, and it gets really old after a while. But I understand, because if you just write it down, let's go to the Baxter Building and see Reed Richards, and then they would know what he's doing. But
hell, Stephen Hawking's got it down.
There's a couple of what I've read is there's a couple of mini series that are really good that turn the Inhumans around, and I've not read them yet. They're ahead of me in continuity, so I haven't read them yet, but that's apparently where it gets really good. And if obviously the potential would be there if they were to adapt those or take that version of the characters. But where I am right now, there's nothing about the Inhumans that interests me really. As I say, it's Black Bolt and other generic characters who are basically interchangeable. That's in the 70s. As I say, there's a lot of 70s.
Sorry, no, I was just going to say, but that's how I see Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, I hadn't read them. See, the 70s Guardians is a completely different team. And they only got like 10, 11 issues. That was all they ever got. And it's really good, but it's not the same team at all. It's completely different characters. But I quite liked that short run. And then Star-Lord is a separate character who's not involved with them, who had like solo stories, and some of them are good. And I've read a couple of them from the late 70s recently, and they're not good at all. They're just they're Chris Claremont, just as he was taking over the X-Men. And I was expecting better, and they're just not good. So, but again, the Guardians, it's based on a series that was in the last 15, 20 years, which I haven't read.
Yeah. Well, it's just, I mean, I haven't read any of their stuff, unfortunately, either, but I had to find out about them whenever I heard about the Guardians of the Galaxy film. I think that's probably the reason why I wasn't that interested in it to begin with. I don't know a huge amount about the Inhumans either, and that's why I'm thinking, well, you don't necessarily have to follow the comic books in any way. If you were to look at them in terms of just characters with powers, you could approach it any number of different ways and make it an interesting film. Just bring something in from outside of what people would normally see in the standard Marvel universe and most of the comics that people would pick up, and just bring in the potential. Because if all the stars align and at some point in the future the X-Men franchise comes back, and Spider-Man comes back, Fantastic Four comes back, and we've the potential to see the Illuminati setting themselves up with Charles Xavier, Black Bolt, T'Challa, Reed Richards, Tony Stark, and Doctor Strange, and then let that lead on to World War Hulk.
Well, I think they're trying. Hulk. Yeah, but see, that would be nice if they tried to do that. But I think they're trying to shoehorn Planet Hulk on there somewhere. As at the end of the last Avengers film, where he's flying off in that fighter jet, that's supposed to be hung up on the space. For Planet Hulk, technically, which apparently might actually happen now in the next Thor film. So they're going to try and shoehorn it on somewhere, which I don't think is going to be a good idea, because I haven't read the comics, but I've watched the animation, and the animation's absolutely terrible. It's fucking awful. I've tried to watch it twice, but I don't know if a Hulk film, another Hulk film, would work. It's great along with the Avengers and stuff like that, but as another one really going to work?
Depends how they do it. I mean, my take on the first two films, and both of which I enjoyed, was that the problem was making the Hulk the focus. And it's kind of just exactly what you said. I think they can do a solo Hulk film, but there needs to be a compelling story and a compelling character, who's also the focus, because the Hulk's needs as a character don't always sustain a story. And I know it from reading. Now I've read, unlike Spider-Man, which I skipped, I read all the 60s Hulk, and I've read pretty much, I'm on 1979 now with the Hulks, so I've read pretty much the first 20 years of the Hulks, and you can see where it works and where it doesn't work, and the stories work best in the comics when he's not the focus. He can still be pretty much the main character, but he gets involved in somebody else's story. He finds a hidden city and they have a dilemma, and he's helping, but it's like the Princess Jarella or somebody that it's her story and we're invested in her while the Hulk hits people. And that's, when you try to do it about the Hulk and it's about the condition and it's about those, I have my doubts about that being a film that will work. And that's where I thought the first two films failed to really work. I didn't see what Thor does with the character and if it sets up Planet Hulk, which I've never read but I'm aware of.
Yeah. Well, I think if you were to try and look at it from a tortured character point of view, I think Mark Ruffalo is a great actor to be able to pull that off. And realizing that there's the Thor movie coming out that Hulk's going to be in, and we also have Doctor Strange out there. Well, there's two potentials here where from either the Thor or from Doctor Strange, in both of those, you could have somebody connect both parts of the Hulk's psyche, Banner with the Hulk. So you could have him as the intelligent Hulk, which would give us, the Mark Ruffalo brooding character along with the strength. And at the same time, both Doctor Strange and especially in the Thor movie gives you the potential to transport him onto any other planet.
Yes. Yeah, well yes, definitely. That I could see that happening in either of those movies, and I would have assumed Thor. The first one is very interesting. Yeah, that would be. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
Because I know Hulk, just as a Hulk smash character, is basic. He's a tool.
Yeah.
He's basically just a tool for storytelling.
Yes.
But I think the intelligent Hulk and I think the Bruce Banner character, Bruce Banner is a brilliant character. He's a tortured soul trying to get through, like even the TV show. Yes, the Hulk was very basic in that as well, but you weren't watching it necessarily for the Hulk. You were watching it for Bruce Banner, for David Banner, I should say, in that one. And,
the TV show, yeah.
It was brilliant. People loved that show.
And another reason that's one of the things as well, in common with what I said a minute ago, the TV show, yes, you watched for Banner, you watched for Bill Bixby, but a lot of those episodes are somebody else's story. And that's also true in the comics. It works. They all, they would break formula about twice a season, and they would do a big story, sometimes a two-parter, that the Hulk was the focus. Like there was the two Hulks one, and there was the one where he was captured by the UFO hunters, and that was a big two-parter as well. But a lot of the time you're invested in other people's stories, and as I say, in the comics as well, that works. And often in the comics, the Hulk is, particularly in the 60s as well, the late 60s into the 70s, that a villain enlists the Hulk. Now, I don't know if this would be a great movie, but often he's enlisted by somebody who misleads him for like 2 issues, and then he figures it out, and in the 3rd issue he stops the baddie and then moves on to a new story arc. But he's often the tool, as you said, of somebody else in somebody else's story.
Yeah.
And that works fine. And that's where the movies need to be aware of that the Hulk, because when you have a main character whose one goal is to be left alone, it's hard to get them into stories unless someone else takes advantage of them, because his goal is to be alone. Leave me alone, I don't want to interact with anybody. His goal is not to save people. He doesn't have the drive to get involved that Cap or Tony or any of the rest of the characters do. He wants to be left alone, so you have to outwit him in the story.
Well, I can kind of understand it in the Thor film, if he comes in as one of the giants, and if we do actually end up with Ragnaros and we end up losing Thor as we know him now, but not necessarily losing Thor as a power in the universe, where it could move from the Asgardian side of things, and the whole setup could be destroyed and waiting to reset itself, and in the meantime we could have Beta Ray Bill come in.
Ooh,
and
cool.
take over the, we never know what's going to happen, but I think that'd be great in that story.
Yeah.
I know nothing about that side there at all. So I'm talking about the Hulk, the last film. I mean, I liked Edward Norton on it, that whole storyline of him in Brazil trying to get away from it and trying to make an antidote was great. But what I didn't like was the fact when they brought Tom Roth on it, and they just kind of made it under the first film again.
Yeah.
So, the
Yeah.
whole second half of the second film was basically the second half of the first film over again. Let's just make the same monster again with a different actor and a different name, and hope people don't kind of put two and two together. And that's what that. Visually, it was a good film. Story-wise, it was kind of a good film up until they started doing that, and that's kind of what let it down, was that they just kind of retread the same territory again.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's just a problem with the Hulk is that a lot of the villains that he comes across are mutated giants, and they've gotten there pretty much the same way.
Yeah.
He does have a certain enemy type that comes through, and they look very much the same most of the time, and they got pretty much the same motives, just blind rage, just smash, and he has to kind of stop them.
I just think that's just lazy writers and
Yeah.
people that just don't know what to do with the Hulk.
I think you're both right. No, I actually agree with both of you. But yes, a lot of the Hulk villains are like that. But yes, that's lazy writing. Certainly if you're doing a movie, don't just put him up against a character who's big and strong and have them fight it out. Again, you just need to have a compelling story that might be a third character's journey that the Hulk is helping them, and then you have something to be invested. Because otherwise, it's just another slugfest. And even with Mark Ruffalo, another Hulk movie like that would be pretty disappointing. But I don't think they'll do it. I think they've learned. I think Kevin Feige and the team that he's working with know. I think they know. Yeah, I think they know what they're doing. I'm still going to have to go, by the way, guys, as well, because there's somebody just calling.
Yep.
And so, but I think we're nearly done anyway.
Yeah, Frankie's going to have to go now as well. So I think it's probably a good chance to wrap this up. So for anybody that's been watching this, thanks again for either coming in and saying hi, taking part in the conversation, or even just watching us if you're watching this on YouTube. And please like, subscribe, leave a comment. We'll interact with you in the chat as well, because I think the discussion on Civil War and a few of these other aspects are the kind of ones that we can just take past this episode. And I'd still love to chat with people about this. I don't know about Michael and Frank. I think they probably jump in with that as well.
I don't think I'm finished with Civil War yet. I have to go see it a second time, and hopefully I enjoy it as much as I did the first time around. And I want to try and see what people's perspective was on the whole audience thing, but I just still can't see it. I think I will enjoy it the second time round. There's one thing I wanted to say that I wanted to bring up about Civil War. Whenever Tony actually realizes that it's his fault and he realizes that it was wrong, I can see why people thought after that it was just petty and it was pointless. After that, I mean, I kind of felt that. Kind of like that myself after. It was like, right, why doesn't he just say, right, it was my fault, let's be friends, let's get this sorted out again, which is sort of kind of seemed that it was going to be that way, and then it just became kind of petty as to why they were still fighting.
It was, and again, it was wrong.
Yeah, it's not the fact that, hands up, it's wrong, let's go back, let's get this sorted out, let's just keep the truth from General fucking what's his name, and don't tell him I'm here. And that was it, really. As you said, there was nothing resolved whatsoever on it, but it was done so really good. It was done really well.
Yeah, I think that part of it was kind of resolved, but there was two sides. There was another scene as well where they're actually in the Quinjet with the Winter Soldier and Captain America, where Winter Soldier's kind of sitting there going, I don't know why you guys are doing this. It's not like I'm worth it. But then you realize we're not actually still just on your story now, mate. We've moved on a little bit, because before you were introduced as a target for this, there was still the Registration Act. After you're resolved as no longer a target, there's still the Registration Act. So you could say you can't say that Tony Stark was just 100% wrong, because he was wrong about one.
One aspect.
In the film, and for the rest of it, there still is always going to be the tension, and it's just the fact that Zemo did it brilliantly. He tore the team apart from the inside.
Yeah,
that's what we have to deal with.
That was such a good plan. He's the first Marvel villain in the cinema to win, because he won.
Yeah,
got job done. And it was that, like, Steve and Tony had different ideas about how to move forward, and that was irrelevant to Winter Soldier and irrelevant to the death of Tony's parents, because that can't be resolved until one of them fundamentally changes his point of view, and they're not really going to do that.
No.
And they didn't, which again I applaud. That was adult storytelling for me. Like, it's not, there wasn't an easy solution, which would have trivialized the issues. Whereas by doing it this way, it invites discussion and analysis, which is...
Comics, this is where he actually comes out as Peter Parker and things like that, even though they've used it as a way to introduce him. It's kind of that whole part of the storyline where I think Captain America's took over that, where he ends up, coming out as well, and Tony done it from the very first film, I think they just missed that wee point. I know they had to shoehorn Spider-Man on there.
That document on the table, we're in phase 3.
Yeah, true. But I have a small gripe about that as well, because Spider-Man is supposed to be an instrument in this as well. So it was in Civil War the comics, this is where he actually comes out as Peter Parker and things like that, even though they've used it as a way to introduce him. It's kind of missed that whole part of the storyline where I think Captain America's took over that, where he ends up coming out as well, and Tony done it from the very first film, I think they just missed that wee point. I know they had to shoehorn Spider-Man on there. I don't necessarily think they had to for the next film. I like the way they did it. The next film is Homecoming, which I hope has nothing to do with the comic of the same name, because it's a story that should have been for Tobey Maguire by now, which they did a little bit of in the second Raimi one. So they did, but no, it's good where it's going. I'm enjoying it. Hopefully, they're not going to drop the ball on it at all. Really,
It looks like the writing's getting better as it goes along rather than worse.
Needs to. It really needs to, because given the fact that Batman vs Superman was really bad and people actually think it was good, one bad Marvel film now could kind of really wreck the whole thing.
Don't go back to this burst in the bubble thing, Frank, because I think I think you might be right in one aspect. I think superheroes, as in Iron Man, the Hulk, and Captain America and stuff like that, yes, that might be a bubble that could pop sometime soon. But I think super powered or supernatural heroes in comic book films are that's
it's the latter. No, it's the first one. It's about the Captain America and all that. That whole bubble now that we're kind of in seems to be getting to the max. A lot of people disagree with me on it. It's just one of those visions I kind of have. I'm afraid of one kind of bad film taking everything away.
I think they're kind of, because everything's been running at the same time. Like, you would have Batman versus Superman being shit, but at the same time you got TV shows like The Flash that are doing quite well.
Yeah.
I think they're balancing themselves out well enough. If you just did it A, B, C, D, then yes, if they fell down in one of those steps along the way, that would probably have an effect on what would come afterwards. But because they're doing everything together, it's basically, if one of these drops while the other one's still doing well, it kind of balances it off. And I'm really looking forward to shows as well, like Preacher coming out.
Yeah.
And I hope they would tackle some other books out there, like Sandman, if they did something like that at some point, or Why the Last Man, and those kind of stories.
Why the Last Man is happening. Sandman, I think they've just I think Sandman's actually happening, and it's something to do with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He's behind that. Sorry?
Sandman as a TV show? I didn't know this.
It's going to be I think it's going to be a miniseries as far as I know, and it's Joseph Gordon-Levitt behind it. Why the Starman has changed hands that many times, but I think it's still happening as well, and I'm looking kind of forward to that. So I think for the long term we kind of have a good run at it, and then we're going to have Star Wars for the next 10 years as well. So
So I'd just like to point out at this stage, I'm loving this T-shirt.
We can't see it, so
you
love your T-shirt.
I love that T-shirt. Yes, I know.
I can see it now after the delay on the stream. I can see delay, it now. Hey, I love Star Wars. Yeah.
Here it is now. I had shut down the stream because I was ready to go, and I have to open it up again.
I
See this T-shirt?
You'll see it. You'll see it again whenever you just watch back on YouTube. You'll be able to see
Speaking
all the
of
highlights.
T-shirt, I've got.
Right, so on that
Team
note,
cap,
guys,
definitely.
I have to go
Yeah.
here anyway. So
Yeah. So
Yeah, I need to go. Well, guys, that was good. Thanks everybody for
Yeah.
watching. Cheers, Tom, Frankie.
thanks
Take it
Bye.
easy.
everybody.
Cheers,
We'll
bye.
catch you next time. Bye.
Next time.
Hey, Captain America.